Welcome students in the second session of this week. And in this week, as I have already told you, that we will be discussing about history and generation of computers. The history of computer is a fascinating tale of innovation, progress and transformation. From the early days of room-sized machines with limited capabilities to the pocket-sized supercomputers we carry in our pockets today. The evolution of computers can be categorized into generations. Each generation is marked by significant technological advancements. So we will be discussing all these things during 1.5 hour discussions of today's lecture. What is the term generation? Moore's law, proposed by Gordon Moore in 1965, observes that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles approximately every 2 years, leading to exponential growth in computing power and performance. It has been a guiding principle in the advancement of computer technology. Before I go into the generations, we will have a brief look of various components which we are used in different generations of computer. So the first generation computer, we were using a device which was known as vacuum tubes. So vacuum tubes regulate the movement of electrons in a vacuum. Many older radios, TVs, computers, etc. use it as a switch, amplifier or display screen. Another device is known as transistor. It is an electrical component with switch and amplifier function used to regulate the flow of current. Next device is known as IC, integrated circuit. It is a microelectronic circuit that is printed on a silicon chip and has a large number of circuit components, that is transistor, diodes, resistor, etc. They are imprinted on a chip, I mean to say. Next device is that known as computer processor, an electrical component that is part of an integrated circuit that houses the CPU and other related circuits of a computer. CPU, all processing and different operations occur here, which is sometimes referred to as the brain or engine of a computer. CPU is part of the microprocessor, I mean to say. Magnetic drum. A magnetic drum is basically a storage device, a magnetically coated cylinder that may be used to store data and programs. So that were used in earlier days of computers. Magnetic core. Information is stored via a system of cores which are collection of tiny magnetized rings. Memory is a physical object used in the computer to store data or information and programs. So after knowing some detail about the devices, or you can say the terminologies related to the devices which we are used in various generations of computer, we come to the generation of the various generation of the computer. With the advent of time, modern computers began to take shape. The development of the computers had begun in the 16th century. Several improvements were made to the original computer. It continued to advance in terms of speed, accuracy, size and cost to push the design to current day computer. The extensive time is split into the following segments known as computer generation. So we can call first generation computers, and first generation computers were roughly from 1940s to 1956. The computers which were designed during 1956 to 1964 come under the second generation computer. Similarly, the computers which were assembled during 1964 to 71, they are known as third generation computer. Computers which were marketed from 1971 till date, they are known as fourth generation computer, and fifth generation computers are present and beyond. They are known as fifth generation computer. So we will have a look of on these generation one by one. So before, there were spreadsheets, computer algebra systems or graphic calculators. Mathematicians and innovators looked for ways to make calculation easier. Here are the 8 mechanical calculators used before the development of modern computer. Abacus, that was a device which was used in 2700 BC. Pascal's calculator was used in 1652. Leibniz stepped reckoner, that was used in 1694. Arithmeter was used in 1820. Comptometer was used in 1887 and comptograph was used in 1889. The difference engine was used in 1822. Analytical engine was used in 1834, while the Millennier device was used in 1893. So here is a brief description and photograph of all these devices which were used in. They may be known as the predecessor of the computer system. These devices can be known as the predecessor of the computer system. It may interest you to know that the development of computers started somewhere in 1940s. The first generation computer was developed at that period. Generation is a computer term in the world of electronics and technology that describes the transformation that a computer experiences. Previously, the word generation was used to describe the difference between various hardware innovations. Today, generation can refer to both the hardware and the software, which together make up the total computer system. Now we will discuss the evolution of computer systems generation wise. So generation of computer evolution is generally divided into 5 categories. So first category being known as generation 1. So the first generation computers, as I have already told you, were during 1940s to 1950s. In Berlin, Konrad Zuse created what became known as the first programming computer, the Z1, in 1936. The 1940s saw the emergence of electronic computer, including electronic discrete variable automatic computer, that is known as EDVAC. In 1944, electronic numerical integrator and computer, ENIAC, in 46, electronic delay storage automatic calculator known as EDSAC in 1949, and universal automatic computer, that is known as UNIVAC-1, in 1951. These machines used variably vacuum tubes and punch cards for data processing. Vacuum tubes were the primary electronic component used in these computers between the years 1940 to 50, because at this time these device was available. Magnetic tapes and magnetic drums served as the primary memory storage devices. The programming language at that time was the machine level language. In the past, the size were enormous and could fill the entire room, and the speed was incredibly sluggish. Paper tape and punch cards serve as the only input and output mechanism. The computers were built using over 100 of vacuum tubes. Examples of this generation computers, as I have already told you, that EDVAC, ENIAC, EDSAC, UNIVAC, IBM 701 and 650 are among others. These are some of the photographs of these first generation computers. So you can see here, they can fill the whole 10 by 10 room, and they had to stop, the operation had to be stopped after some time because the various parts gets heated due to the heat generated by the vacuum tubes. So it requires to be cooled after some time, and the operations was very slow and sluggish, and these computers needed frequent cooling after sometimes due to the heat generated by the vacuum tubes. What are the pros and cons of first generation computer? We can see here, they are high competition. At that time they were having the high competition and speed. Vacuum tubes were readily accessible at that time. What are the cons? Weighed around 30 tons and were incredibly large. They were kept in a large room. So I mean to say they were large in size, up to a big room. Vacuum tube based computers were incredibly expensive at that time. They are not able to store large data because of the magnetic drums. Vacuum tubes require a huge cooling system, as I have already told you, that require frequent cooling after operating for a few minutes of time. They were less effective in their jobs and consumed a lot of energy. Hence, they were having the low efficiency. They had limited programming capabilities and used punch cards for inputs. So these are some of the pros and cons of the first generation computer, and mainly this was due to the technical or technological limitations, you can say, at that period of time, because at that period of time we were not having the technology. IC, integrated circuits, were not there, transistor technology was not there, but later these technology were coming up, and with the advent of, or with the advancement of the technology in terms of integrated circuits, transistors, the computer became more faster, smaller in size, and smarter in work. Now I'm coming to the second generation computer, which is marked from 1950s to 1960s. So all the computers which were made during this period of time, they come under the category of second generation computer. So in 1947, the invention of transistor by the Bell Labs revolutionized the computing world basically. So transistors are replaced, or transistor replaced the bulky vacuum tube. So with the advancement of technology, we do have another device which was smaller in size and more efficient than vacuum tubes, that is known as transistors. So transistors were used in place of vacuum tubes in the second generation computer, making computers smaller, faster, and more reliable. Until 1965, computers were only used by mathematicians and engineers in the lab setting. Programmer 101 changed everything by offering a desktop computer that anyone could use for their computing purpose. The 65-pound machine was the size of a typewriter and has 37 keys and a printer built in. You can see the picture of one such computer from the second generation over here. So in the second generation computer, transistors were the primary component which were used in the computer from 1950s through 1960s. Magnetic tape and disk and magnetic core served as the primary memory storage devices. Programming language was assembly language. At that time, in the first generation, the only language was the interpreter language, and here we do have the assembly language. Compared to the first generation, the size were smaller. They used to use the less electricity, and they were producing lesser heat. Computational time was in microseconds. Magnetic tape and punched cards served as the input and output components. IBM 1401, IBM 7094, and IBM 7090, UNIVAC 1107, and other systems are examples of second generation computers. We can see here the pros and cons of these computers basically. So transistors were used to reduce the size. They were smaller in size than those from the preceding generation, used less energy, and did not generate as much heat as the first generation computer were doing. Punch cards and assembly language were both implied as input, more portable and affordable than the first generation computer. They are speedier since they could compute data in microseconds. What are the cons? They needed a cooling system. They're solely implied to do certain tasks. Though they were efficient, but still they had the limitations in terms of technology, I mean to say, due to the technological limitations, I mean to say. After that, the concept of integrated circuits was introduced. So with the advent of this, or with the advancement of technology, now we do have the concept of integrated circuits, where thousands of transistors can be fabricated on a single chip, I mean to say. So this marked the evolution of the computer in the third generation. So the third generation computer, which are from 1960 to 1970s basically, they were using the integrated circuits, in short ICs, instead of transistors. So they become more faster and reliable, and they requires less maintenance. They are smaller in size, they are more affordable, and generate less heat. They are significantly reduce the computational time as well. In the second generation, the computational time was in microsecond, which was reduced to nanosecond in the third generation. The Xerox Alto was created in the 70s as a personal computer and could print documents and send emails, included a mouse, keyboard, and screen. Here you can see an example of Xerox Alto, a machine of the third generation computer. Important key points of the third generation computers can be summarized below. The ICs were the primary electronic components used in the computer from 1960 through 70s. The magnetic disk or drums and a large magnetic core served as the primary storage. High-level language like BASIC, COBOL, and Pascals were used in the computer of these generations, basically. Mini computers were the name given to the more compact and effective computers. Compared to the second generation of computer, there was an advance in speed and dependability. Mouse, keyboards, and magnetic tape monitor, a printer were the input and output equipments. IBM 370, IBM 360, and UNIVAC 1108 are important variants of computers of this generation. If you talk about the pros and cons of this third generation computer, the pros includes is less expensive, they are smaller in size, and they are more dependable and swifter. The adoption of integrated circuit not only helped to make the computers more faster and smaller in size, but they allowed us to have a large storage capacity. They can be characterized by having a keyboard and mouse instead of punch card, and computation time on these computers, computation time on computers of this generation were substantially faster, going from microsecond to nanosecond. They utilized operating systems, programming language, and time sharing ideas for improving performance. So these are some of the pros of this generation computer, while in the cons we do have they required air conditioning for cooling the system, because heats are still generated, not that much, but still the heats are generated. IC chips are difficult to maintain and require high advanced technology to manufacture. Manufacturing IC technology is not a very prevalent technology. Not everywhere you can produce this thing. This requires a special environment, I mean to say, and labs to create IC chips. So these are some of the limitations, or you can say cons, of the third generation computer. Now coming to the fourth generation computer, the fourth generation of computer, that is from 1970 or 71 and onwards to 2010, you can say, they are marked as fourth generation computer. Intel's 4004 microprocessor marked a pivotal moment in the computing history. It was the world's first commercially available microprocessor and laid the groundwork for the personal computer revolution. Steve Jobs introduced the first Macintosh computer in 1984. Consumer Reports called it a dazzling display of technical wizardry. The release of IBM personal computers powered by Microsoft MS-DOS operating system marked the beginning of the personal computer era. It sets the industry standards and paved the way for advancement of PC. That was around 1981 when the IBM flooded the market basically with their PCs or personal computers. The iMac G3 was launched in 1998 and quickly became known for its Bondi blue clear casing. The 38-pound iMac included USB ports, a keyboard, and a mouse. It was meant to be portable and customizable. The fourth generation primary electronic components are microprocessors and very large scale integration. VLSI technology marked the evolution of fourth generation computer. So here it was possible to chip or to put on chip various components, various ICs on a single chip using this VLSI technology. So VLSI, very large scale integration, is the term used to describe a single microchip with thousands of transistors attached to it. The introduction of semiconductor memory storage devices like random access memory, which is known as RAM, and read-only memory are the marked, you can say, phenomena of this generation of computer. The contents of RAM, which is used to temporarily store application and data, are erased when the computer is turned off, while the contents of ROM, which is permanently saved, the data and application remain kept even after the computers are being turned on. Programming languages including high-level languages such as C#, Java, Python, and JavaScript are the marked key points of this generation of computer. Both the size and the pace have decreased. The Input or output devices include keyboard, mouse, printer, and monitor. Whenever you are talking about the pros and cons of these generation of computers, they are very smaller in size, fast computation capability, and they are portable and compact. They produces very low heat. Uses of any high language is possible in these generation of computers. Cons include the microprocessor is complex both in construction and design. Air cooling is frequently required, and depending on technology is necessary to create integrated circuit. Fifth generation computers. While we are talking about fifth generation computers, they are known as intelligent computers, you can call them, and the area or the era, you can say, from 2010 onwards, you can say, is the marked for fifth generation computer. So advances in technology bring voice recognition, ChatGPT, and many more such applications, and this has become possible due to the high speed computers which are available nowadays. AI, artificial intelligence, is an authenticity made possible by adopting parallel processing and superconductors. In the future, computers will be revolutionized again by quantum computing or quantum computation, you can call, molecular and nanotechnology. In 2019, Google claimed to have achieved quantum supremacy by performing a calculation on its quantum computer. Today's more innovative computers are tablets and iPad, which are simply touch screen without a keyboard, mouse, or a separate CPU. So you can see here, these are some of the examples of fifth generation computer. You can say IBM's notebook, PCs of Pentium, supercomputers with parallel machine known as Param, workstation on Sun, IBM PS2. So these are some of the examples of the fastest computer of this era. Pros and cons of fifth generation computer. They come in different sizes and has distinctive characteristics, more dependable and capable of working considerably more quickly, provides computers with multimedia functions and friendlier user interface and user experience design. While the cons include fear of unemployment due to AIP replacing the job. So all of us know that a lot of discussion are going on with the advent of high-speed computer and AI technology, most of the jobs will be taken off. This is not like that, basically. You can call it a myth, but those persons who cannot adapt themselves to the changing environment and they cannot learn the AI skills, they may be obsolete. But the person who can adopt themselves with the changing environment, they will survive and they will remain, I mean to say, they will remain to do their jobs in the area, and their jobs will not be taken away in any way. So I mean to say, these computers and AI technology are here to make your life more easier. The important thing is that one should adopt to these, or one should learn these technology to make themselves more efficient and skillful, to remain competitive in these competitive age, I mean to say, in this modern age of the computers, I mean to say. So the fear of unemployment due to AI replacing job is not very, I can say, true. You can call it a myth as well. Can be used for spying people. So due to the intelligence nature, miniature size, you can use these devices for spying the people. And creating AI with human-like intelligence is a difficult and time-consuming task. As I have told you, that a lot of work is going on in this area, but still a lot of work is to be done to make the computers more intelligent like human beings. So basically, students, with this, basically, we will stop our discussion of today's lecture here. And today we have tried to discuss with you the history and generation of computer system, how we started our journey from the first generation computer, where the computer were large enough that required to be sized in a big room. Now we have, with the advancement of technology, reached to a state where the devices are on our palm top, on our hand, the handheld devices are on our palms basically, and the size and the speed has increasingly the size has reduced, while the speed has incredibly increased compared to the first generation computer. As far as the cost is concerned, the computers have become less expensive, more powerful, I mean to say. So these are with these discussions, basically we stop over here, and next day we will be discussing with you various computer programs, softwares, hardwares, and firmwares. So thank you very much. Thank you, students.